Madam Speaker, tonight it looks like the great state of Wisconsin is going to go ahead with their statewide election tomorrow after the state Supreme Court blocked the governor's attempt there to postpone it till June because of the obvious public health emergency. The U.S. Supreme Court also weighing in late in a 5-4 ruling saying that Wisconsin voters shouldn't even get any additional time to return their absentee ballots. I just wanted to get your take on what we saw in Wisconsin today and what you think about how we as a country should be holding elections during this crisis.
Well, people should not have to decide whether they can vote or be sick. That's just not a good choice for anyone in a democracy. And you would think that the Supreme Court of the United States would not overturn a court decision which gave the voters extra time to do a vote by mail, by a few more days to get their vote by mail ballot in. So you have the Supreme Court of the United States undermining our democracy. It's really shameful. 5-4. Surprise, surprise. But we just have to, as I say, we don't agonize, we organize. And we just have to get out the vote to make sure that they do not only risk people's lives to vote, but risk the outcome of the election, which is an important one in Wisconsin now. But the judge who decided the lower court decision that was overturned tonight, he said, I can't rule to change the election, but I can determine that this is what you need to do. You need more time to get in the vote, a very clear picture of understanding the health risks that were involved at this very unfortunate and unusual time. Apparently, the Supreme Court does not have an appreciation of that. Sad to say, no surprise.